Welcome to the Biochar Show, where innovation meets sustainability. I'm your host, Meghan K, and today I'm joined by a true pioneer in the world of carbon valorization and sustainable waste transformation, Suzanne Allaire, the CEO and founder of GECA Environnement, a global leader in carbon management and pyrolysis-based solutions. For over a decade, Suzanne and her team have been redefining what's possible when it comes to turning waste into opportunity. GECA works at an intersection of science, strategy, and sustainability, helping businesses, governments, and cities adopt advanced thermal technologies that regenerate the planet, not just sustain it. Suzanne is a visionary leader who sees waste not as a burden, but as a resource, fueling innovation, restoring ecosystems, and creating lasting value for communities worldwide. Her mission is bold but clear: to empower carbon action at scale and help build a future where sustainability and prosperity go hand in hand. Suzanne, welcome to the Biochar Show. I'm thrilled to have you here all the way from Quebec.
Thank you, Meghan. I'm really happy to be here.
How was your day going? How are things over there?
Wonderful. Snow is gone.
Yes, excellent. That's what we want to hear. Spring is in the air. So you've been leading GECA for over a decade. What inspired you to start this journey? And what was the moment that made you commit to carbon valorization full time?
It go back to several decades ago. Yeah, that's why I have some white hair there. I was teenager. All my life, when I was a kid, I was playing in super clean water, rivers and lakes and all around. And at some point, I was 15 years old. And I said to my friends, come on, we are going to go swim in the St. Lawrence River. And my parents said, no, you're going to be sick. So we went and I was sick. I got sick. The river was really, really very dirty. And so from then I was very disappointed of the Quebec and the Canadian population to have the largest water reservoir in the world. And it's so polluted. So I said, I have something to do with it. And so I studied that to protect the environment, to clean the environment and all those kind of things. And so while doing that, I was full professor at Laval University working on waste transformation in the landfill, intercepting greenhouse gas emission, and also on composting, optimizing, how to get all the carbon from this waste and reducing the greenhouse gas emission from those activities. And at some point, I was with my with my team waiting for the data collection of our equipment, and I was looking at garbage trucks, super huge garbage truck coming in the landfill that was maybe 2 kilometers long. And I was like, I'm not working in the right place. What am I doing here? Intercepting greenhouse gas and optimizing. So that's when 27 years ago, something like that, I decided to look for another option than just intercepting, optimizing, the greenhouse gas emissions. So I decided to go with the pyrolysis and torrefaction gasification system.
Wow. So your company's tagline is empowering carbon management action. What does that mean in practice and how does it guide your work?
So yes, we really want people to take positive action, clean the planet, and we want this action to be influencing. We want to give the people the power to make a change in the world. And so for the project developers, then it goes to supporting them all the way on the different aspects of the market and in this industry to make their project a success. And that project has to be a waste transformation into something good for the planet.
And pyrolysis is the heart of your solutions. Why do you believe it's such a powerful and underused tool in waste transformation and climate strategy?
Pyrolysis, human beings use pyrolysis for as long as we can remember, for as long as we can make charcoal. And we use pyrolysis. This is something that is known from the human being. It allows us to make super, super small way of doing it to super big industry. It allows a lot of different type of waste, or I would call it feedstock or resources, to be transformed into something else. So there's a lot of different ways of doing with this technology. It doesn't require chemicals. How can I say? If somebody wanted big, it can be big. If somebody wanted small, and the different ways that we can transform is unbelievable. For as long as it contains carbon, it's the wide variety of choice that we have that is very attractive.
And it's nice too because it's so universal everywhere around the world, as I've just discovered in Namibia and places that we were talking about earlier, which is pretty amazing, that technology. Many people still think of waste as garbage. How do you help shift that mindset, especially when working with governments or corporations, that that's not exactly what it is?
Well, trash is cash. So it's just a resource that is not well used. When they think like that, they need education. As soon as they understand that this is a resource, it contains something that we can do something with it, and they can possibly make money out of it, then, the switch become quite easily. But they have to understand that being environmental, it's not costly. You can make money out of that. From the individual to the government to the industry, it's just a shift in the way of thinking. So it's looking at the resource and say, okay, everything that is an output from my industry, here I get money. Why not this? How can I make money and how can I make use of this? Sometimes it's heat, sometimes it's liquid, solid, gas, whatever it is. There's always something to do with that, or almost something.
You work with everyone from businesses to municipalities to national governments. What's your approach to collaboration and how do you tailor your solutions to such different partners?
Yeah, we don't work that much with municipalities. We do, but it's a little bit more difficult to address this market. One of the things that we do is that we really address all the action we take for the project itself. It means that there's no project that is unique. So we adjust to the size, the feedstock, the material, the output that they want to do, and it depends if it's a team that is used to work with oil because it comes from the gas and oil industry, then they may be going towards something that is more liquid. So depending of their network, so it's all adjusted on every single projects to make the most of it and make it easier, if I can say, so that we have to use the network, their knowledge, their experience, and all this kind of thing, in addition to the other context in the project. So making it as kind of more natural to go toward that as possible.
So biochar is one of many valuable outlets from your process. How do you decide like when, where, and how to use biochar versus other carbon pathways?
Yeah, usually they want to decrease a carbon footprint. At the same time, as I said earlier, it's all about the condition of the project, who they are, which location they are, the needs that there's out there. So if, let's say you are in Quebec, you are not going to make electricity. Electricity doesn't cost much money. But if you're in Africa, most of the time electricity is something they really need. So depending of the location, the need of the location and the communities, the type of residues that you have. So we adjust to the context and the commitment of our clients.
Do you say you work more with agriculture or is it just, it depends as well?
Yeah, it really, really depends. We have, for example, we work with a company that recycle product from hair salon. We work with another industry that is doing cat litter. We work with other type of plastic recycling industries. But I would say that let's say in Africa, it's more of the time waste from agriculture. But in developed countries, it depends a lot. Oftentimes it's demolition materials, but there's all kind of industries out there.
And is there a processing plant in Quebec as well?
Yes, yeah, there are several process plants, yes, doing pyrolysis and biochar. But the biggest one is opening its door on May 20th.
Because your company is global. So where are you seeing the most momentum or innovation in sustainable waste processing today, would you say?
Yeah, I think that United States are well into it. Now everything is on hold because of with the Trump administration, nobody knows where they go, but they are very proactive in that aspect. And in Africa, it's unbelievable the number of projects that are out there because they really understand that trash is cash. I would say that in Europe, it's slower because the regulation is super, super strict. Asia start taking the speed. South America is slower.
And okay, so let's talk challenges. What's been the most difficult part of scaling pyrolysis technology or getting buy-in from major stakeholders?
Education. We do market studies, and more than 75% have never heard the word biochar, biocoal, or bio oil or wood vinegar, whatever related to the pyrolysis and gasification industry. So it's the same thing in terms of industry, company owners. Company owners is just a representative of standard population. So it's education. The other thing that when people are looking, I've heard about that in term, the investor, they don't understand what that is. And when you don't understand what it is, you feel it's risky. Risk means no investment. So education, it's a very serious opportunity. And the thing is that people think oftentimes that the scaling for on the technical aspect, scaling the technology. But we do have technology that have scaled and have shown that it is possible and are, multiplying the technology everywhere in the world. So scaling is not anymore an issue, if I can say it, except if you do something very specific, like with some of our clients. Like I was talking about the hair salon. This is something, people are not used to paralyze some of the product coming out. So there's still some R&D, but otherwise it's mostly education.
It's sort of why I've started this project on this podcast, is to educate people. Because like myself, I had no idea what it was until I started this journey. So spreading the word is really important as well. So you've been ahead in the curve in many ways. How do you stay innovative in a field that's still, like you said, emerging, like not as known, and sort of what excites you about possibly the next 5 years in this?
When I started about 27 years ago, people thought I was from March, but that was okay because between researchers, because I was a researcher at that time, between researchers, people often think that we think we are crazy, right? We don't have both feet on the earth. And 10 years ago, when I started the company, my husband was saying, if nobody makes money with that, it's because there's no money to make. What are you doing? Watch me. So yes, being ahead is kind of difficult, but now the industry is moving forward. It's moving pretty fast. The carbon credit is pulling the industry, and also some industry that needs to be a lot cleaner, that have a lot of experience, like very old industry like the metallurgy industry, the concrete industry, start pulling the market as well. And they are super organized at 100 or 200 years old industry. So they are helping in organizing the biochar industry.
There's just so many, there's 1,000 different ways to use it. And I think that's, like you're saying, educating people about that exact positive benefit of this whole thing. So can you talk about sustainability as an investment, like not just a cost? Maybe share an example where sustainable waste management or transformation created real economic or social value. I know we were talking about the hair salon and things, but there's an example maybe.
Yeah, indeed. There's different ways of doing. For example, we work with a charcoal manufacturer, for example. It's already in the pyrolysis industry, and they had this pile of waste that they cannot use because the size is not the right, or there's a batch that is not exactly, the right quality that they need, all this kind of things. And they said, I have 300 ton on my land. What am I going to do with that? We developed this product and the market to go into it, and actually they got just as much money from per ton than from their main product. So they were kind of very surprised about that. In Africa, for example, we help different women association that were putting fire into their waste so that they don't have problem with rats and whatever with the waste. And on one side, they put the fire on the waste. On the other side, they have to buy charcoal to cook their product, like for shea butter, for example, such type of product. Now we have a project in Benin, which is quite similar, but with other product, with palm oil production that is made by hand, and also other papaya and other, different manioc producer. So we said, rather than you buy the charcoal, why don't you make it out of your waste, right? And so it's a double win in their case, and they become more independent as well. And so we have this different impact in different places in the world. In the forest industry, there's a lot of modification to do, and people know, and they work on different ways of harvesting or getting their waste out, because the pulp and paper was using a lot, but now it is using less from sawmills. But from harvesting, there's the treetops and all kind of things that oftentimes they make, and then out of it, big chunk. And then it's a risk for fire and pests and all those kind of things. So, it's a very, very good way for them to simplify the forest management and decreasing the risk of fire, improving, what they do with the waste. So of course they have to let some on land, but when they pile it up, this causes a lot of problems. And so if with mobile system, they can transform that and they can put biochar back there and sell other part, that's a good income for them, and it's mostly a good way of saving the forest.
Your company emphasizes regeneration over reduction. Why is that shift in language and intention so important right now?
Yeah, because reduction is only we consume less and we emit less, and when we emit less is because when we use fossil fuel, for example, we dig down in the ground and we take what the earth has removed from the air to decrease the temperature of the earth, and then we just put it back up. And so if we reduce, we just put less back, but we keep doing that. So all we do is buying a little time. That's all we do, but it's not super efficient. So when we sequester, we do like the earth did in the past, is that we take from the air and then we put it back to the ground rather than just extracting less from the ground. Is it clear?
Yeah, no, 100%.
So when we do this, it's a reverse thing. That's what we do actually. So it gave us a chance to fight the climate, but just reduction is way too slow.
Okay, so finally, for the listeners who want to get involved or support this movement, what's one action they can take today, and also myself, to help accelerate carbon smart solutions in their own communities and businesses?
It could be personal, it could be business, it could be local government. Personal is just consume less and support the initiative to recycle and transform. And because everybody is not in my backyard, but for as long as you fight for not in my backyard, it means it's going to be in the backyard of somebody else, or we don't do it. If we don't do it, then you're not going to fight climate change and you're not going to clean the planet. So somehow, some way, we have to accept that will be in our backyard, recycling and transforming of our waste while reducing what we consume. In a business point of view, you have to look at everything that is out, all the output from your industry. And all this output, maybe 80%, 90%, you can make money because you already have a market. For this 10%, see it as a new opportunity, an opportunity to be more resilient and to go to a market that you don't know. And that will increase your resilience, because if you are all dependent on one type of market, then this second opportunity, or you sell it to your neighbor that make another opportunity, which is an opportunity for you by itself. You pay for all that is in, then you have to get some way a value for all that is out. So even when you think there is no market for it, thinking twice, hire a specialist, and there's very most of the time something to do with it. On the government aspect is that, yes, you have to promote environmental aspect, but what we see is oftentimes the more the government is difficult with this industry, the more the industry will go somewhere else. And so it's to be not permissive in being polluting, but it's to be more permissive in accepting new technologies and new ways of doing. So it's supporting and having incentive rather than punishment.
You're going to have to trademark trash is cash. Suzanne, thank you so much for joining me all the way from Quebec. And it was super insightful. It's nice to have women in this industry, and I'm trying to get the word out and spread so people understand that exactly trash is cash. And I just feel like we can do better for our planet. For anyone who wants to dive deeper into your work or follow along in what you're doing, what's the best place to find you? And so they can visit your company, the website.
Yeah, I think if they go to our website, there's a link there that bring directly to my assistant. So she redirect the question to whom will be the best to answer. And to contact me directly, it's my email address. So I suppose that you will share the email address. Yes. Thank you again. It was fun. It's a fun journey to do this kind of stuff.
Well, okay, thank you to our listeners as well. And thank you all for tuning in. If you enjoyed today's episode, the best way to support the Biochar Show is by subscribing on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube. And please don't forget to leave us a 5-star review. It helps others discover the show. And if someone in your life would like this episode, go ahead and share with them. And big thank you again to Suzanne. And we'll see you the next time on the Biochar Show.